I'm sure we all experienced this situation where somebody sends you a link for shoes or something. Oh yes, I absolutely have to have it. You click on the buy button and then nothing happens. And you click again and nothing happens. And you click 3 more times and all of a sudden, finally something happens and you have 15 shoes in your inbox, right? And I think we're all kind of familiar with the delay and we just assume that's how it has to be. But it has to do with like the way frameworks work. So I was kind of thinking about this, and at the same time, I kind of met Builder.io, and Builder.io had a similar kind of problem, which is that Builder.io had lots of e-commerce customers that are very much living and dying by, can they be fast enough? You know, there's lots of evidence that shows if your buy button is slow, you can figure out a way to make this go faster, then you can kind of win. And one thing that Builder.io already understood before we even met is the fastest way to build a web page is to remove all the JavaScript, right? If you remove all the JavaScript, it's super fast. You start adding JavaScript and things get slower. And the problem is nobody really knows how to solve that. And so we kind of started collaborating on like, hey, what would this world look like? And we built some prototypes. One of the things I wanted to figure out how to do is how to make web faster. And specifically, we worked on something called Qwik, and it was a new take on like how web frameworks work. Originally, the idea behind Qwik was just a framework that knew how to do rendering and nothing else. But very quickly we realized that the way people actually use framework, it's not just about the framework itself, but also the meta framework that goes with it, right? Whether you have Next.js or SvelteKit or a Nuxt.js. Once you have a meta framework, you realize, well, you have to also answer questions about like, well, how do we build it? How do people distribute these things? How do we have a development environment? All of these were kind of unopened questions. And up until that point in time, typically every framework, meta framework, kind of had their own custom built solution. Right about that time, Vite came out, and Vite basically said like, hey, we're doing this for Vue. It's super cool, but actually it's agnostic. It can work for any framework that you want, and maybe you can go and explore and use it. And so we were actually in a time where we were kind of building our own kind of glued solution, like pieces kind of just held together by duct tape. And we were like, we really don't want to do this because we don't think this is our best value add. And so when Vite came out and we became aware of it, we were like, yes, this just solves our problem and we can go and focus on Qwik. And so we jumped on it and we just ran with it. I think this is the reason why Vite kind of shines, is because we already understood what we needed. We needed a build system. And when the standards came about and when we had to ASM 2015, and when Ivan started experimenting, like, hey, could I do what Webpack does, but purely through imports? I think it just showed the world that like, hey, that's possible. And he just took it to its natural conclusion.